Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for High Velocity Radio.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of High Velocity Radio, and this is going to be a good one. Today, we have with us Jill Johnson with the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership. Welcome, Jill.
Thanks for having me. So glad to be here.
Well, I am very excited to learn about what you're up to. Tell us about the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership. How are you serving folks?
Yeah, we're serving a lot of folks right now. Our focus is small business, and that is on the top of everyone's mind right now and the struggles that they're having. We are a nonprofit organization based in New Jersey. We serve clients all over, but we're based in Newark, New Jersey. And our focus is really on helping small businesses get to the next level and to overcome the challenges of being resource constrained.
So tell us about the genesis. How did the Institute get started, and what was kind of the catalyst behind it?
Well, my father and I started the organization together, interestingly enough. My parents had a newspaper publishing business for about 20 years. And so I grew up in the world of small business ownership. I saw them doing everything soup to nuts. When they started their business, they had an idea. They thought that there was a need in our local community for a publication that highlighted the positive things that were happening and something that really could bring the community together. And when they got started, they just started. They didn't go out and raise a bunch of capital or anything like that. They, got started. And so I saw that world. But then when I graduated from college, I had the opportunity to be part of the financial analyst program at Goldman Sachs to start my career. And it was there, Lee, that I saw a completely different world of entrepreneurship. And I saw a lot of people who, I was in mergers and acquisitions. So I saw a lot of people who were able to build their businesses, scale those businesses, and they were able to exit. And they got very, very wealthy from the exit of their business. And, I really wondered why there weren't more women and minority-owned businesses that were following that sort of pattern. And so when my father and I came together to start the Institute for Entrepreneurial Leadership, it was really to help more business owners get on that path to thinking about how to scale and grow their businesses to that next level.
Now, coming from kind of seeing both sides of the coin, that probably impacted how you kind of see the world of business. Can you share with our listeners, maybe who aren't as familiar as you are, of kind of the corporate high finance view of business is almost the complete opposite as the mom and pop business person? In terms of, they're trying to serve people and help people, but the way they look at the world is different. Even the term small business in a larger institution or even the government is, I think 250 or 500 employees, right. When a small business, could be less than 5 employees in most cases.
Right. In fact, there are a lot of businesses that are not employer-based businesses at all. They're sole proprietorships. In fact, when you look at the numbers in minority communities, especially in the Black community, I think it's somewhere around 94% of businesses are sole proprietors. So yes, that definition of small business means different things to different people. Large corporations are driven by shareholder value, right? Creating value for the shareholders, the stock price. That's why they're so driven by anything that influences their share price. Small businesses are often driven by the need to serve customers. And if their customers are happy, and often I think that many small businesses don't pay quite enough attention to the bottom line. Now, paying attention to the bottom line does not mean that you have to not be serving your customers in the way in which you would like. But it does mean that when you're looking at the bottom line, not only are you looking at how you can be profitable to put more money in your own pocket, which, for many people, that really is the purpose of being in business, right? Is profitability. but it also creates the potential for you to be able to extract the value by selling your business. When you decide that you no longer want to run your business, or you can no longer run your business for whatever reason, you have the potential to sell your business and still extract the value.
And do you find that some of this is really a mindset shift in maybe as a society, we've kind of villainized some of the traits of business people and made it seem like in some cases business people are greedy or they're exploiting and taking advantage of situations when the vast majority of businesses are just kind of just struggling and just trying to hang in there to support their family.
Absolutely. And Lee, I have to say, it's absolutely a mindset and knowledge. My parents just never talked about exiting their business. It was not something that was part of their mindset because it wasn't something that they knew. It wasn't something familiar. They knew owning a business and that's your livelihood. So you're essentially self-employed. And that's fine for a lot of people. But the sad part of it for me was that when my parents decided that they no longer wanted to run a newspaper after 20 years, they had not created a path to extract the tremendous value that they had created over those 20 years. So many people are out there working hard and toiling day to day to build something up to then not extract the value. And that's where I think there are a lot of small business owners out there that are really missing out.
And then you find that that's a function of them just not having the education and knowledge and putting that as kind of an important component of their day rather than, okay, every day we got to wake up and, that commercial, I got to make the donuts, right? I got to get up and do the work every day.
Right.
So I'm not really having the end in mind of at some point I also want to exit. So I have to build something that has value to somebody else down the road. So I have to invest some time in that and building an infrastructure and maybe some manuals and some assets that I can hand off to somebody else. Because I find, because that's all I do is interview business owners every day. A lot of small business owners, number one, they don't have any of those processes documented, so they couldn't even hand it off if they wanted to somebody else. And number two is they might value their business at a much higher number than somebody who was going to buy their business because to them, this is it's their baby. This is something they grew from, birth. And now it's providing a living for them, but it's not anything that's really sellable to somebody else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lee, you hit the nail on the head. The other two things that I encourage people to think about is one, if you had systems and processes in place and those manuals that you just mentioned, you might even be able to take a vacation. Imagine that. So many business owners, for them, the thought of leaving their business for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or so, they can't even fathom that because they have to be in the mix. The business is still revolving and very dependent on them. The other thing, Lee, that I think that many of us should think about, especially in light of what has gone on through 2020. What if you just were incapacitated for a period of time, right? What if you contracted COVID and you were not able to work for 4 weeks or 6 weeks? What would happen to your business? And so I think that more business owners need to be thinking about the risk involved in not having your business set up and operating in a way that you can step out of the business. And if you can do that, you're also putting your business on a path to extract the value when you want to move on.
So when you had this kind of where you combined kind of your background and your family's history with this kind of new knowledge and new expertise, how did you see it kind of being implemented in terms of the Institute and what is the actual kind of work day to day? Like, is this what you're doing is spending your time educating these kind of newer entrepreneurs or the entrepreneurs that maybe don't have this knowledge about how to extract that value? Are you teaching? Like, what is the kind of the mission of the Institute?
Yeah. So one of the things that I saw was that there was, even at the time when we got started in 2002, there were training programs that were available. And today, there are many, many programs that do training. I think training is great, of course. Any kind of education is good. However, where a lot of business owners are struggling is in the implementation of what they learn. It's where the rubber meets the road. And that really is our focus, is that hands-on implementation, the hands-on support, moving from strategy to, okay, now let's get it done. And how do you do that? And that's really our focus. And, I think also an area of expertise for us is, how do you make your resources stretch when you have very limited resources and you can't just throw money at the problem? What do you do? And so, we're very good at that, helping business owners to create more runway and figure out how do they get to where it is they want to go, given the resources that they have today.
And then now you're working on an initiative specifically women of color connecting. That's an initiative you're working on now, or that's always been part of the mix?
Yeah, that is a new initiative as of the end of 2018. And I should say also, our focus is people who are already in business. It really isn't people who are conceptual, who are just trying to get started. We do have some self-serve tools for that segment. But, we really are trying to help people who have been in business for a while. They've been struggling, and, they're really trying to figure out how do they get to that next level. So our Women of Color Connecting initiative is really in recognition of the fact that women of color in particular face a lot of barriers. It's tough to be a business owner anyway, regardless of who you are. Women of color are starting businesses at faster rates than any other segment, yet the revenues are lower, the profitability is lower, the number of employees is lower. So what we decided to do was to focus on that segment in particular and look at how we can identify those businesses that have the potential to grow, scale, exit, to be on that trajectory, and using our collective resources of relationship capital to help them get on that trajectory.
So then how does that work practically? Like, say, I have a business, I'm a woman of color. How do I kind of plug into your world? And then what is happening once I do?
Yeah, so there's an application process, and we assess where you are. We look for businesses that have some demonstrated traction, and that can mean different things depending on your industry and type of business. So we look for that demonstrated traction, and we look for where your potential is. If we think that you can be that $10 million company, the $50, $100 million company, again, a business that has the potential to grow, scale, exit, and create wealth. We truly believe that entrepreneurship is a tremendous path to wealth creation, just not enough people are able to do that, especially women of color. And so we identify them. Once we identify them and they come into our network, we look at what the resources are that are required to be on that trajectory and to achieve that potential. And we reach into our network. We have a very vast network. We have corporate volunteer partners, and we create what we call a success circle for the entrepreneur based on what her specific needs are. And those volunteers, dedicate their time and energy and expertise to helping the entrepreneur with whatever the specific needs are.
Now, is this how is this different than like an incubator or an accelerator?
Well, I get that question all the time, Lee, and we stay away from that because often when people think incubator or accelerator, it is immersive. It's a finite period of time. It's 8 weeks or 12 weeks, and then you're off and you're cut off. And accelerators are often placing their bets on specific businesses, and so they end up kind of working with the one that's showing the greatest promise. Ours is a relationship, and it's a community that we are putting around these entrepreneurs. So there is not a specific time period. It's not training that we're giving them over some period of time. It really is bringing them into our community and surrounding them with a network of resources.
And then these programs, these are the entrepreneur would pay a fee to be part of this, or they would give up some equity. Like, what is the kind of arrangement of this, or is this an altruistic serving? You're getting funding by somebody else, and you're just serving these folks and giving them a leg up.
Yeah, so we do get funding because we're a nonprofit. We get grant funding. We get donations. We have an amazing group of women who are part of our leadership council. And actually, we have a few men too, who are part of our Women of Color Connecting Leadership Council, who have all made donations as well to support the effort. So at this stage, we are not actually charging the entrepreneurs. For us, this is about a much larger mission of inclusion within the entrepreneurial ecosystem. I do believe in the capitalist system. I believe that it offers tremendous potential. The problem is that not enough people are participating. And that is really our focus, is how do we create a much more inclusive entrepreneurial ecosystem where more people have the opportunity to create wealth. And through that wealth, they're creating jobs, they're giving back to their respective communities, and everyone is able to win.
Now, we do a lot of work here at Business RadioX with the, in Atlanta specifically, the women business community and a lot of the women business organizations. And I don't know if this stat is only local here or it's a nationwide stat, but I think it's less than 2% of women-owned businesses ever even reach like $1 million a year in annual recurring. Is that something you're seeing nationwide? And is this part of what you're trying to fix?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I said the problem is vast. We have decided to focus on a specific segment because we believe if we can address this issue for that segment, that it has tremendous potential across the board. And in fact, our Success Circles model is something we have rolled out to Main Street businesses that have been impacted by COVID. Again, because we know that having limited resources impacts your ability to make certain decisions, and it impacts your ability to move forward and dig yourself out of whatever hole you might be in. And we firmly believe that it is through relationships that you get more access across the board.
And then can you share a story? Has this been going on long enough where you have a success story where that by a woman of color plugging into this network has helped them kind of take their business to a newer level?
Yeah, so there is an entrepreneur. She has a business, 40 Dreams Catering, and met her years and years ago. And, she tells the story that she thought of her business in a way of being something, that could produce income and that would be a good business. And she almost kind of fell into the business that she's in right now. She delivers meals, fresh, healthy meals to seniors and disabled adults, and it's paid for through Medicaid. We have seen so much growth in her business. It's amazing. And just the mindset shift. She, will say that she never thought in the beginning days, in the early days, she never thought about selling her business or growing the business to the point where she could sell it and extract value. She is now at the point of looking at, possibly getting her own building, getting her own space. She's employing, a good number of people at this stage. And so she's a business that, again, just through the mindset shift about her business has led her to create those systems and processes and try to position the business in a way that she is prepared for the future, regardless of whichever way she decides to take it.
Yeah,
and Lee, I have to just add there, she is committed, even with that growth scale exit mindset, she's committed to being a good community citizen, to supporting things in the community and to creating jobs in her local community.
Yeah, I think that the group you're going after is a good lever in terms of creating those ripple effects outside of, just that individual business, because any folks that you're probably working with are of the heart of service and are of the heart of making an impact in their community. And if you're giving them a path to create this generational wealth that they can help their own family, number one, but also then help families around them, then you can really, kind of make a huge difference, not only just to them individually, but to the community as well.
Oh, absolutely. And, when you have more resources, that also impacts education. It impacts your ability to get health care. It impacts so many of the social issues that we talk about all the time. So the way that we think about this is that, this economic empowerment and economic equity really is the path to addressing many of the other social issues that when people talk about social justice issues.
Right. And this is the engine. And I think it's as we've said multiple times, this mindset shift has to happen. Business is good. Business people aren't greedy exploiters. They're people who are doing good in the community, and they should be held up as such. They're the heroes. They're not the villains. And women of color, especially, and women business owners in general, have to dream bigger. They have to kind of have a bigger vision of what whatever they're building can be, and it's not something small. They got to really believe that and live that, and it sounds like your organization is really helping them see that is a true possibility, that isn't kind of just a dream.
Absolutely. We want to help those people to not only dream bigger, but then to actually have a pathway to get there. It's actually very frustrating to dream big and then feel like you just don't know where to start because you don't have the networks, you're not connected, and you feel like you have to do everything on your own. It's a very lonely road for many entrepreneurs. And so, we want to be that organization that can help get people connected to the resources that they need to succeed and take their business to that next level.
Right. You're showing them the path and you're connecting them with the people along for the journey that can help them get through the whole path.
Absolutely. There are so many resources that are out there. It's just figuring out what do you need, when, what step do you take first, then second and third, and figuring out, who can help you to overcome the barriers, again, given the resources that you had to have today, assuming that money is not just going to fall out of the sky. A lot of entrepreneurs will focus on, it's the money that I need. But often not being able to get the money is a symptom of other challenges or issues with your business or with your level of connectivity.
So now, if you look into your crystal ball, what do you see ahead as hopefully the pandemic is waning and then we're going to kind of get out of this mess, maybe at some point, maybe midway or towards the end of this year? What do you see ahead?
I think that people need to be very mindful of the pandemic and the pain that it caused and look at not necessarily focus on the pandemic is gone and going away. But I think that they need to look at how do I shift my business in a way so that I can survive this pandemic, the next pandemic, or any other type of disruption that may occur. I think it's time for businesses to look at just new ways of doing business. And what this has done is accelerate the use of technology, accelerate people being more widely distributed. So I think that for 2021 and beyond, what I see is the businesses that are able to think differently about how to serve their client base and who are able to adapt to a way of doing business that where your customers are not right in your local area. I think that those will be the ones who win.
And then for business owners out there that might want to plug into your organization, what is kind of the pain that they're having or frustration they're having where it's the right fit to call you or somebody on your team?
Someone who has been in business. Again, they have some demonstrated traction. They know they have a good product or service as evidenced by other people buying it. But they're just not seeing the path to growth, to getting to that next level. Or even if they can see it, they don't really know how to get there, and they're struggling, and they feel like they don't have the resources, and they feel like they're constantly coming up against these roadblocks. That is where, we're able to work our magic. So, yes, we have our dedicated Women of Color Connecting initiative, but we are very broadly supporting Main Street businesses that have been impacted by COVID, especially, or that have been struggling in general. So we welcome those businesses, and folks can take a look at our website and, start the process with us.
And what's the website? What's the best way to get a hold of you or somebody on your team?
Yes, we are at We Are IFEL, we as in WEAREIF as in Frank EL.org.
Good.
WeAreIFEL.org.
Well, Jill, thank you so much for sharing your story today. You're doing such important work, and we appreciate you.
Lee, thank you so much for having me and giving me the opportunity to share these resources with the business owners who need support.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We'll see you all next time on High Velocity Radio.